Hello everyone, my name is Rita Mosu from The Legal, and today we'll be having an exclusive interview with Wakili Akhaabi. So let's go on this journey together. Hello Wakili Akhaabi.
Hello, how are you?
Fine.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, who is Wakili Akhaabi? Akhaabi, sorry.
Uh, it's a very interesting question. Chrysostom Savior Akhaabi is an advocate, of course, of this is my 8th year of practice. I I practice tax law, and I also practice a lot of commercial law. But of course, we also do a number of constitutional law cases, land cases. I practice here in Nairobi. And other than that, I'm also a council member. I was elected in the last election as the general member representative, and I'm truly grateful to our members for that. Yes, yes.
So kindly take us through your background, where you studied.
In terms of background, I was born in Kijabe. I was bred here in Nairobi and in Eldoret. I attended schools in Eldoret and in Nairobi, but most important is I went to a school called Machakos School. And I remember that's a place where what we really did in school is to play rugby and read. So that school really ingrained in me a lot of the discipline that I have right now, and motivated me to do what I am doing currently. Yes.
So that's the inspiration towards law. Is there anything else that inspired you to work this journey?
Well, my father was also a lawyer. Uh, he practiced for a while and then joined politics, but he was also a very great inspiration for me to study and to pursue law. And and really it's just something that my mom usually told me when I was pursuing law at the university, was this attitude of wanting to really help people. And I remember something that she always kept on telling me is that what you need to do with this degree once you get it is help. She's very religious, so just help the people of God. So I think that is what I have been doing with my career. Yeah.
And what has your experience been like for these years of practice? You said you're in your 8th year of practice.
Yeah. Wonderful. I think I actually started practicing, quote unquote, practicing in 2009. I remember we had gone for some shopping with my dad, and my dad was a very highly regarded lawyer, and he met a friend of his called Paul Amuga. We were shopping for something, and he said to him, um, give, give him, he's disturbing me at home, give him your briefcase so that he can carry it for you. And that's just how I started interning in law firms. So I interned at Amuga and Company. I remember the first time that the first check that he gave me was a bahasha with 2,000 bob, and it got depleted in a day. I bought my mom a necklace. I bought my dad a tie, and the following day I went back to my mom to ask her for transport for the next day. But I remember going back to Mr. Amuga and telling him that I'm very grateful for that money, that 2,000 bob he had given me as a salary. So my salary was 2,000. I interned in several other law firms. I I I interned with Paul Nyamodi, Sisule Munyi Kilonzo, with my very good friend Wambua Kilonzo, Peter Munyi and Sisule. who have remained friends up to today. Paul Nyamodi, very, I have a lot of respect for him. I went to Mohammed Madani. And then eventually I found myself at IKM, Isame Kama in Myanmar, where I did my pupillage. And with that still ingraining in me, that discipline, I worked under, my pupil master was Martin Munyu, but I worked a lot with Kamau Karori Senior Council and Mili Jalega, who was, that time she really held my hand and taught me how to draft good pleadings. If you see my pleadings and you think that they are good, um, that's just her. She taught me everything I needed to know about law until the time when I left. I left in 2021 to go and start my own practice. Yes.
So, what advice can you give someone who is beginning their practice on the early stages of
Um, I think what I'd say is patience, patience, patience. Be patient because the law, this profession, first of all, this profession loves you more. If you love to read, it appreciates you more. And that appreciation comes with, sometimes you might be reading a book, and one of the hardest things to do is reading a really bad book. But sometimes when you have a bit of patience, you might come and understand that that book is very, very interesting. Um, so what I tell young advocates is just have a little bit of patience, put in the effort, and eventually 1 + 1 is equals to 2. Eventually, you're going to get the result. That 1 million bob that you always, let me tell you a story. When I started my law firm, I thought that I would get out. I was coming from a very big law firm, and I thought that I'd get out and start charging clients 50 million bob. And I quickly got to understand that that's not the case. You have to start with charging clients 25,000. But once clients start trusting you, once you put in that effort, and it's consistent effort, and they start trusting you with the work, then you go to them and you'll ask them for whatever amount of money you want to ask for, and they're going to pay it. Yes. So just be patient. Consistency in giving quality service to your clients, and the rest is history. 1 + 1 is equals to 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the challenges that you have undergone as a wakili in this country?
Well, the one of the biggest challenges, of course, is I'd say it's just putting food on the table. Yeah. We have, and putting food in the table is a process. A client comes to you and they want very quick results. But then the current state of the judiciary is like you may not be able, if you're not lucky, or you're on an unlucky day, you're not able to get that kind of efficiency, and therefore the return delays. So of course those are the kinds of challenges that we experience here and there. And I think with a little bit of some commitment, both from advocates and also from the judiciary, I think we can be able to get it right. Another challenge would be maybe the tax. The tax in Kenya is so much. You are probably taxed about 65% of what you earn. And something that I want to tell advocates is, and of course some of them will realize this, is when you go to the Cayman Islands, when you go to Mauritius, those economies usually appreciate advocates more And some of the richest advocates live there and work from there because the tax is low. So we really need to put the Law Society of Kenya at the center stage of tax justice and ensure that the kind of laws that Parliament is making in respect of tax are things that um, are able to be sustainable in the long run, especially for advocates. Yes, yes.
So, still on the state of the judiciary, how independent do you think Kenyan judiciary is?
Well, I think our judiciary is very independent. And I'll say this with a lot of conviction. I think our judiciary is very, very independent. You have one of the most independent judiciaries in the world. It is independent from the legislature and it is independent from the executive. However, it is not independent from something called, and it is also independent in and of itself, because you get, rogue judges. We've seen some rogue judges being dismissed from being judges and so on and so forth, magistrates and so on and so forth. But the catch is this: our judiciary is ailing from, and it is not independent from, corruption. And I think it is very important for us to understand what corruption is. I usually tell people that corruption needs to be taught again. We always hear this word corruption, corruption, corruption. But does the person in my village in Sikunya understand what corruption really is? It needs to be taught from nursery school, and we need to have a syllabus about it. Nursery school, um, primary school, secondary school, taught in the universities, so that people understand what corruption does and its effect in the long run. But we were talking about the judiciary. Now, it's not independent from corruption, because if I want my things to be done efficiently, if I want to get a date, if I want to get a court order, I need to give something for that to be, I need to give out some money. And I'll say it. I need to give out some money so that I can get my court order very quickly, or I can get my date very quickly. And that is not facilitation. That is corruption. We now have a system, an e-filing system, that is able to auto-generate a date, yeah, for you. But we are not auto-generating those dates. And so you wonder why we have that system in the first place. Another thing that I would call corruption is when you have a cause list in the morning and it says that a certain judicial officer will start their court at 9 o'clock. But then at 9 o'clock, everybody is ready, everybody is prepared, but the judicial officer waltzed in at 11 o'clock without any explanation, or the only explanation that is given is that they had a meeting which they could not, those things. And I hope our Chief Justice would, get a recording of this. Those things are the things that take us back, and those are the things that constitute corruption in the definition of the word. So our judiciary needs to relook at those inefficiencies, or it needs to relook at those kinds of corruption, and read itself from it, relearn them, relearn, so that we can be able to have a more efficient and effective judiciary. Let me tell you something. The legislature, there's something called legislative, parliament usually has legislative supremacy, or so they say. but you cannot be more supreme than the constitution, of course. What we are experiencing in Kenya right now is a situation where parliament is doing the executive's bidding. All all the laws that are being proposed by the executive, they are not really being vetted by parliament to ensure whether they are protecting the mwananchi, whether they are constitutional, and so on and so forth. And that's why we have the judiciary. Yes. Now, we really need to look at the the judiciary really needs to look at itself and come out as an institution that is out there to really protect the rights and freedoms of all Kenyans. And that is a challenge that I would give to our Chief Justice. Yeah.
I'm also sure you've heard of the corruption at the court registries.
Yes, yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and it's actually what I alluded to. Yeah. It's actually what I alluded to earlier. You want a file to be traced. They're supposed to trace that file for you, free of charge, or probably you pay 200 shillings to the judiciary, but not to the person who's tracing that file in order for them to get it quickly. And sometimes when we do this work, we need to look at it as this is the work that has been given to me by God. Let me do it for the benefit of people. Corruption at the registries, you cannot get a date. You need to pay. Someone is not giving you a date because you have not given them some 300 bob to facilitate you to get that date. You get certain law firms which are notorious for getting dates. All their matters have dates, but certain law firms do not have dates. Corruption at the registry, you execution, yeah, someone hiding a file. Why would you hide a file? If someone is not happy about a certain judgment, let them apply for a stay or let them appeal. Those are the kinds of things that are taking our judiciary back. And the judiciary needs to be a little bit more reflective because it's really damaging the name. And politicians, personally, I usually say that I'm not a politician, but politicians may really capitalize on it. They know the problem. They know what the problem is. They probably won't want to fix it so that they can talk about it. And politicians are very good talkers. So the best way of curbing this corruption at the registry is for the judiciary to have an internal discussion and say that this is not going to be tolerated. No form of corruption, either by the registry staff, any judicial officer, none of it is going to be tolerated. And if there is any accusation, it is going to be properly investigated. And I must say there should be evidence. It's going to be properly investigated. And if a person is found culpable, let them move out. Let them get out so that a person who has integrity is able to take up that space. Remember, a judiciary that doesn't have integrity takes away, it erodes all the values and principles in which a judiciary is built. People are really supposed to understand and appreciate that the judiciary is a place that is, equal arms, and a place where people are able to find justice. Yes, yes.
So, I'm sure aside from corruption and all that, I'm sure you've heard about masqueraders and this video of this.
Yes, yes.
What's your take on that?
No, masqueraders is the issue of masqueraders in the society is very serious. Not only our law society, but the society at large. there are a lot of people who are pretending to be what they are not. We had issues with the doctor or the gynecologist who pretended to be a doctor for a very long time. And now we have the issue of Brian Wender and so on. It's a very serious issue. And I think that as advocates, we need to take it, we should not politicize it, but take it a little bit seriously. One of the things that I had suggested, and I wish we had more time in the council, is for us to have a discussion with the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, so that they give us a special unit of prosecutors. And we have a lot of goodwill with the DPP. A special unit of prosecutors, 3-5 prosecutors who can effectively prosecute these cases of masquerading and ensure that those guys get 10 years in jail. Again, we speak to the DCI and we have a very cordial relationship with the DCI and tell them that we need you to give us a special unit of about 10 DCI who are going to investigate these issues to do with corruption. Special unit, not corruption, but masquerading, sorry. Investigate them, and within a span of 1 year, take those files to the DPP for prosecution. And I'm telling you, in 1 year, we will not have masqueraders in this country. But information needs to be obtained from us advocates and from the general public. And that information needs to be given to the Law Society of Kenya. Yeah. The Rapid Action Team has done a very, very good job. But one question that I usually ask myself is, a masquerader is a criminal. And when you go to their office, they may be having a gun. What if they shoot you? Yeah. And that's why we are saying, if we fully equip the branches, and I think a proposal has already been tabled in the council, with funds, and we collaborate properly with the DCI and the DPP to get these masqueraders in 1 year, we will not be talking, as a profession, we will not be talking about masqueraders any longer. It's a very unfortunate, it happens everywhere. Very, very unfortunate that it happened the way it did in the and of course there are those rogue, they are criminals, and criminals are everywhere. But I think the solution is to get people involved, collaborate also with the judiciary, because a masquerader, the judiciary and other registries, because these masqueraders are pretending to practice in courts and other registries, and those people know them. Yeah, so it is very important for us to be able to work in a collaborative manner in order for us to rid ourselves of that vice.
Okay, so another aside from that,
Yeah.
we have seen President Ruto on the judiciary story,
Yeah.
and we've seen the LSK calling out for peaceful demonstration.
Yes.
What is your reaction?
Oh, I think LSK has done this country a very, very good service. It's not a disservice at all. That is very, very good service. President Ruto, His Excellency the President, he knows better. He actually knows better. He knows that he is an appointee by the Constitution, by virtue of the Constitution, and he knows exactly what the judiciary is supposed to do. So, just because you have certain projects in place and those projects are being stopped by the judiciary, justifiably, You cannot stand in a pulpit or a podium and tell Kenyans that you're not going to follow court orders. Remember, and I liked how someone put it, he is a product of a court order, and that is why he was sworn in. And I know when you follow his political journey, he has been, unfortunately, he has been a victim of a lot of the legal, he has been in the legal system very many times, but he has always been vindicated. So he cannot now turn around against the same judiciary that vindicated him and say that he's not going to follow what they say. Yes, that is what is called double speak. But I would understand him because he's a politician and probably there's something, probably he's testing the waters, probably there's something behind all this which he is trying to achieve. I don't know what it is, but he must respect the constitution, he must uphold the rule of law, and that is the the that is the oath, that is the oath he took, and he must ensure, as the leader of this country, he must ensure that the integrity of the judiciary is untouched. You know, he says that there are certain judges who are corrupt. We're not saying that judges are not corrupt. And the Chief Justice ought to check and see who are these judges who are corrupt. And I'm saying the Chief Justice in her capacity as the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission. She must check and see, who are these people who are corrupt. But the president himself, with all the resources he has, let him bring the evidence. He cannot just say that they are corrupt people in the judiciary, because what he's doing is he's casting aspersions. And when people stop believing in the judiciary, when people stop believing that they can go to court and get justice, that will also be the end of him. And when people stop, and the way I'd like lawyers, advocates to think about it is that when people stop thinking about the rule of law, that is our welfare, that is our bread and butter. So we have to make sure that that rule of law is really, really safeguarded. And nobody, even the president, he cannot say the things that he said. And he will have to withdraw. He'll have to withdraw.
So, handling the elephant in the room, we all know you're running for LSK general member.
Yes.
What has inspired you to run for this position?
Well, the inspiration, I think I always get inspiration from the people who I am able to assist from time to time. In 2022, or prior to 2022, the society was headed in the wrong direction. If we were going to Ngong, the society was headed to Machakos. And we, as a council, we have tried our very, very best to put the society back on track. And I think as a council, we've done a very, very good job. The inspiration comes to me when I see that when you go to Gitanga Road, LSK headquarters, things are actually moving. There's a time that the phones were not being answered. But right now, I can say with a lot of conviction that when you call Gitanga Road, the phone is ringing and someone is picking up and someone is assisting you. Before 2022, 2023, I used to get my practicing certificate, the paper, in September. Right now, we're able to get your practicing certificate in about 4 days after you make the payment. Yes, and I think these kinds of efficiencies, uh, making the society more efficient, making the society more effective. Right now, when we talk as a society, as the Law Society of Kenya, people say the Law Society of Kenya has said this. People are listening. Citizens of Kenya are listening to us. The other time, during the previous government regime, they are actually saying that the Law Society of Kenya is the official opposition. And that's very good. That's very good for advocates, because since we are representative, since the Law Society is representative of advocates in the country, Mwananchi, that citizen out there, is able to look at an advocate with respect, honor, dignity, and say that if I go to a wakili, they are going to represent my rights very well. What is inspiring me? What is inspiring me is the very good work that we have done. I'm going to be laying out what I have done in the coming days, what the council, and I think something which our members need to understand is, even when you go to the Law Society of Kenya Act, it doesn't say what general member representative does. It doesn't speak about its mandate, that position's mandate. What members need to understand is that once you elect a person into council, there is usually the agenda of the society, what the society wants to achieve. And I may have my own manifesto, I may have my own agenda. My agenda will not be the same as my colleague Maura Kabata. It may not be the same as Faith Odhiambo's agenda. It will not be the same as the president's agenda. And one of the things that this council did during its first meeting is that we put all our agendas on the table, and we said these are our priorities. And as a team, we are going to work towards these particular priorities for our members and for Kenyans at large. So when we are electing people in council, we must always remember who will be the spokesperson of the society, what is their agenda. And for council members, are they people who are able to, are they team players? People who are able to work in a team. Because all these things we are doing, we could never have achieved them were it not for teamwork. One of the things that I really want to finish when elected is the issue to do with the advocate's remuneration order. Actually, two things. Issue to do with the advocate's remuneration order, which has never been revised since 2014. We need an advocate's remuneration order that reflects the current economic state, and for me, very important, removes the discretion of a deputy registrar, the very wide discretion to tax a bill of costs. Let those numbers be very, what do you call them? Let them be numbers which are very predictable. And let the work also be very predictable. If I am taking an appeal to the Court of Appeal, let it expressly say in the second column, not less than 1 million or not less than 500,000, so that it's very easy for someone to know how much a person is supposed to charge. Yeah. Um, and easy, also easy to understand, something that is easy to read, something that is easy for someone to conceptualize. And then let us have an ARO that is, let us have an ARO that does not need to be changed very often. 10 years is a good time to have an ARO if it is reflective of the current economy and it makes sense to advocates, so that the next time that we are changing it will be when things have fundamentally shifted. Yes, and the practice space has fundamentally widened, and that is what I foresee when we speak about the ARO. The second thing, and I think this is very, very important, especially for young lawyers, is making the Law Society of Kenya the voice of tax justice in Kenya. I think this can be able to be achieved in the next 2 years. Previously, ISPAC, the Association of Accountants, has been the one who has been in the forefront of, has been in the forefront of advancing issues to do with tax. But what is tax? Tax cannot be imposed other than by the law. And who interprets the law? It is advocates, and the advocates who are the ones who read the law and are supposed to understand what that law says. Now, we need to be the ones who are championing for tax justice in Kenya. Right now, we have the Kenya Revenue Authority. At least we are getting advocates who are getting into that space and are challenging some of the decisions that they are making. But we have a thing called the ITAX system. The ITAX system sometimes does not reflect what the law says. And many, many Kenyans are suffering because of that system. They need to pay the KRA in order for KRA to change something that the system got wrong in respect of their taxes. They're not able to get tax compliance certificates. They're not able to get one. And I'd want advocates to embrace taxation in Kenya and understand, and not only taxation in Kenya, by the way, taxation in East Africa, so that you can be able to practice tax in the entire sphere of East Africa and get your earning through that, but also ensure that our tax system is a just system, that the government is able to collect what it collects, but the ordinary citizens are also able to appreciate that this is a tax that is going towards, is not just being imposed, yeah, by the government, but it is going towards doing something good. It is beneficial. It makes sense to me as a citizen. I think that is very important. I do not have a lot of agendas for the for the next term. Just those two. I think that is enough.
Alright, so how would you rate the NSA performance, the one that's leading?
I think we've done very, very well. And I think objectively, any advocate looking at us objectively, we've done very, very well in terms of being in terms of our efficiency, what we managed to achieve, how we've managed to turn the society around. That's number one. In terms of devolution, and you see, sometimes when we speak about devolution, only think some advocates only think that it is about money, but it's not only about money. It's about what are the activities that we have taken to the ground. We have a strategic plan. The society now has direction. I think as a council we've done a very fantastic job.
know that right now where we're headed as the world, the space is ever changing. We've seen introduction of AI. So how do you think lawyers, young lawyers, are going to be competitive in this legal space?
I think when we started this interview, I said something to do with this profession loves you more, and it appreciates you more if you love to read. And it's a very dynamic profession. 3-4 years ago, I knew nothing about tax. Now I'm regarded as one of the tax guys, tax advocates in Kenya. And it's very dynamic. So be dynamic, follow, get interested in something and get to know it deeply, understand it deeply, and keep at it. Patience, consistency. You'll get it right.
All right. And what of the lawyers that take up pro bono matters?
Mhm.
How will we ensure that, or how will NSK ensure that they are regulated better? Yes, promptly.
I think this is an issue to do with the stakeholders, the people who hold the judiciary, actually, which has the pro bono fund. Do they have the goodwill? Do they have the goodwill of paying pro bono lawyers promptly? Are they really interested in this thing called pro bono? It's all about what the judiciary wants to achieve with that pro bono program. And if they are very serious, they need to understand that advocates are facilitators, and you need to pay your facilitators promptly so that those cases of pro bono move swiftly out of the judicial system. So I foresee a situation where, and I think this would work, if we are able to have some kind of a committee or a pro bono secretariat with both people from the judiciary, seconded from the judiciary, and seconded from the Law Society of Kenya, and especially the advocates who mostly practice pro bono. I think they will be able to create certain systems that will ensure that when a matter comes, advocates are remunerated with a deposit at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wakili Fabian, for having us in your space, and we appreciate.
Thank you very much.
See you
Thank you
next
very
time.
much. Thank you. Thank you.